Hi guys, I'm Eva. Welcome to another vlog with me today. So this is gonna be more of a talking video, and I'm gonna try and make it short. But I wanted to have kind of mindfulness talks with you guys. So this is probably gonna be like a little series on YouTube in which I'm gonna do mindfulness talks on things, on different subjects or different themes when it comes to mindfulness and mindful practices and just kind of Buddha Dharma teachings and yoga teachings. And yeah, I asked you guys on Instagram if you wanted to have mindfulness talks or yoga philosophy talks, and most of you said mindfulness talks. So we'll do mindfulness. I am planning on doing some yoga philosophy talks as well, where maybe I'll just explain some of the 8 limbs of yoga and maybe some yoga texts like the Bhagavad Gita or the Mahabharata, or some of the Tantra yoga texts, or whatever I kind of have or I've been learning, some of the yoga sutras maybe. So if you're interested in anything specific, do let me know in the comments below. Otherwise we'll stick to mindfulness and kind of mindful practices. So mindfulness is basically simply becoming aware of our thoughts, our habitual thoughts and our tendencies, and our habitual actions, also like our behaviors, actions, language, just the way we act with ourselves and towards others, and our beliefs, our dreams. All of these are very connected. So the way we are connected to nature, to earth and everything around us, and the way we are connected to each other as well, we're also having that connection between our thoughts, actions, emotions and language. And so in mindfulness we often say you have to really notice the connection and the kind of how these connect throughout your day. So if there's a connection between your emotions, your thoughts, your actions, your speech on a daily basis, then what is it that you can be more aware of? And then is there anything that you want or need to maybe shift or transform? And that could be maybe a habitual thought, a habitual pattern of behavior. Maybe that could be something else that you want to transform, that you want to kind of dig deep into. And that is a process of becoming aware of ourselves and understanding ourselves. And that is also the process of getting to know ourselves. Because then true compassion and empathy and kindness towards ourselves and others comes from understanding. So we want to be able to understand ourselves to then be able to practice compassion and self-love and self-care, which is not easy. And they can be words that are just thrown around quite a lot, quite often. But we often don't really know what they mean and how to practice compassion and self-care and also compassion towards other people. So in the compassion practice, then before starting to practice compassion or empathy or kindness or unconditional love towards ourselves and others, we have to get to the root of the suffering. And the suffering is not an issue in Buddhism, and in mindfulness we talk about suffering as a teacher. We talk about suffering as something that we can still use to experience joy and happiness. And suffering can, and I teach this quite a lot in my workshops and my classes, yin yoga and mindfulness and meditation, that suffering can really mean two things for us. And the first thing is suffering can either shut us down, and through suffering we can shut down our heart and kind of shut away from other people. So we build a wall, we don't let other people in, we don't want to connect anymore. So suffering can do that, can cause that. But also suffering can forge us on our path. Suffering can be the wisdom that we need. Suffering can be the transformation that we need, the teacher, the lesson that we need there to open up more, to connect more to ourselves, to learn more about ourselves. And I think with going into deeper compassion practice and self-inquiry, we have to get to either the bottom of suffering, or just we have to be able to recognize the roots of our suffering. And then in Buddhism and in mindfulness, we have the four roots of suffering. Not of suffering, but we have the four roots that we talk about. And the four roots are the root of greed, the root of ill will, the root of shutting down our heart, and the root of delusion, or seeing something incorrectly. And through these four roots, we want to practice then. So basically, some of the gradual trainings that the Buddha taught to kind of deal with these roots were the opposite of these roots. So we have bhavana, or mental development, mind training and meditation. We have cultivating generosity to deal with the greed and ill will. So we have generosity, letting go, transforming the greed root. We have ethics, opening up the heart again. And again, bhavana is transforming delusion. So delusion is a wrong perception, is when we see something in a wrong way. Is when we are kind of seeing, hearing something without misunderstanding it or misinterpreting it. So to let go of delusion, to let go of that duality of the mind, we have to stop misreading, stop creating stories up about what we see, what we hear. So then transformation of suffering starts when we start to see that. So the creation of the stories often is the cause of our own suffering as well. So then transformation of suffering begins, and we often can also transform then the anger into self-love and into loving kindness towards ourselves and others. So again, generating compassion and practicing compassion towards ourselves is that foundation for mindfulness as well, and is that stillness that we experience that we're not very familiar with anymore, but is always there to heal us in the moment. And it's always a reminder that the breath is there to guide us back to compassion and to non-judgment and to non-attachment and to kindness, to deep listening and to loving speech, to loving language. So really observing, noticing, kind of investigating ourselves and who we are truly, and our behavior patterns and behavioral kind of actions and our thoughts as well. And we want to practice the self-inquiry to then be able to create the transformation and to create a little shift. And maybe that can lead us towards more compassion. And compassion is just really true love, you know, is the true unconditional love of love for ourselves, love for the earth, love for not just other human beings, but also other living beings and nature. And so, going back home to yourself, going inwards, really withdrawing inwards to find what it is that can open your heart out to give and receive the love again, to truly connect and to not be afraid of giving love and receiving love, and so kind of spreading the love out and the kindness and also accepting it, because people also can really struggle with accepting and receiving love and compliments and whatnot, you know, the goodness. So we take care of our emotions, we start to care for them, we start to befriend our emotions in a way that then can help us to see who we are and to generate compassion and to generate kindness, and to practice mindfulness in the moment through breathing. So very simple practices of coming back to your breath, of coming back to, am I practicing deep listening to myself and others? I'm truly, truly listening. Am I practicing loving speech, the kind language towards myself and others? And you know, our language use is so important on a daily basis. You know, the kind of self-talk can be limiting or harming, or it can be healing and loving. So compassion really starts with small practices, very simple but also very profound and humbling practices. So always coming back to your breath, and you can just take 3 breaths with your eyes closed, deep breaths. Finding the bridge between the inhale and the exhale and the inhale. And then after your 3 breaths, seeing whether there's a change, a shift, maybe a little difference in your daily life and in your emotions and your thoughts. I just wanted to come on and talk about just a couple of practices and what mindfulness is and how you can start to shift your thinking and think about your emotions as babies and treat them with respect and tenderness and be gentle and let go of judgment towards yourself, and stay home with yourself. Namaste.